Hello, all of you bold, beautiful, brilliant, and highly evolved souls. I am Davina, and today's topic is working through an abandonment flashback. An abandonment flashback can um, have a multitude of feelings. I think Pete Walker uses the word melange. Um, It can be a mixture of sadness, loneliness, grief, um, despair, hopelessness, shame. There can be, many feelings that it can just feel like a real dark place. And of course, the first thing is recognizing that it's a flashback, and this step alone can be very, very difficult because we can be so used to feeling these kind of feelings. Um, for many of us, for myself anyway, I spent most of my life just completely like living in a flashback. Um, and so when we start, recognizing that you're having a flashback, like that is a humongous and an awesome step. So, and like it takes a lot of grief work to work through that denial, like this isn't a flashback. I just feel like this because, I'm a horrible person. The shame can really, the shame and the blame, self-blame can really deter us from, recognizing this is a flashback and working through the feelings. So that's definitely step one. And I believe step two is to start to just try to sit with some of those very, very difficult feelings. Um, and what I'm realizing is you really, for myself, I can really only like feel loneliness if I'm by myself alone, right? That's when those feelings of, that kind of abandonment is going to come up. So, um, I think it has been key for me to be living by myself, as hard as it is sometimes. Um, these weekends, it's but like just sitting and experiencing, like naming it, um, experiencing those feelings of sadness, loneliness, grief, and just letting those tears fall, like just not resisting it, but like leaning into it and allowing those feelings to just, to have their expression, because in your childhood you weren't allowed to have those feelings. Your parents were abusing you, neglecting you, and you had to like stuff all those feelings of feeling horribly, ashamed and lonely and scared. Scared is another one on there I didn't add in, but scared too, of course. The more I work with children, the more I realize how really, like, you know sometimes not, I don't want to say completely helpless, but helpless and defenseless that they are. Like, I'm taking care of a 3-month-old, and she literally completely depends on me for everything. If I even just, leave for a minute, she might start to cry. If I'm just going to the bathroom or something, so it's really opened my eyes to like how terrifying that moment could be for her, when I'm out of her sight and she doesn't know, is she coming back? And who is going to take care of me if that person doesn't come back? Because, I depend on someone to feed me and, change my diaper. And so I think especially these younger years, like, especially like 0 to 3, like when children are very, very dependent on their parents, these feelings can be like, we can feel like, I really think there's like children can experience a feeling of mortal danger, like, and even in older years, like if you're completely dependent, you can't go out and work and find a job when you're 7 years old or 10 years old. You need someone else to care for you and pay for the rent to keep the roof over your head. So yeah, I just want to mention that as an aside, that these feelings of fear. It's more than just, a little fear. It can be really a terror. And these feelings of sadness and loneliness and shame can be like really, really strong. Like if you imagine that your parents are, you know, um, ignoring you, or you're crying and they're not coming to comfort you, like what kind of feeling that could bring up? Like, what's wrong with me? Why aren't you comforting me right now? I'm in pain, and then turning it to ourselves and like thinking, what's wrong with me? There must be something about me that I'm not getting the attention and the love and the support that I believe I'm worthy of. Um, yeah, it's sitting with these really, really to affirm, like, from a child's point of view, like really to have empathy for that inner child and really put yourself in her shoes or in his shoes, and imagine yourself as that 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old or even a 12-year-old, and imagine like how sad, how much shame or grief or um, terror they might be feeling, and how hopeless. All of these feelings are definitely like entangled, like a web of, they're all interconnected. If we feel lonely, then of course underlying that is likely shame. um, you know um, if we feel hopeless, underlying that can be, a lot of fear. um, so yeah, it's recognizing that flashback, it's sitting with those initial feelings, and just allowing them. And for me yesterday, it was like a song was going through my head, and that sort of started things flowing a little bit more. It was Over the Rainbow, which is to me such a, deeply sad song, but it really, it helped me get the tears going. So, use your intuition to figure out like, what is my inner child experiencing? Because things on the outer world might look normal and fine, but, our amygdala has been hijacked. We're living in from, that limbic system that's like, it's a timeless, you have this feeling like it's like happening now, even if it happened 40 years ago, it's like feeling like it's right now. Um, and it can feel like it's going to go like on forever. Like flashbacks can feel like horribly like hellish because you think it's never going to end, but it really reminds yourself that it does pass eventually. And so the third thing that I'm really discovering is like after like sitting with this, um, just this sadness, loneliness, grief for like the last 3 days. And I woke up this morning, and what suddenly starts coming to me is the amount of shame and self-blame that's there. The self-blame is almost more insidious than the shame itself, I think, is thinking that it's my fault, like that, um, that I'm the reason why. So there's the abandonment feelings, and then kind of covering that is another kind of like shame, self-blame, that all these feelings are because something that I'm doing wrong, right? Um, and yeah, so it's like this umbrella kind of covering um, all these other feelings. Like it's like all of this is my fault. I wouldn't be suffering. I wouldn't be in this emotional pain. This must be something innately wrong with me. I must be doing something wrong. Um, this is my fault. I'm so despicable, so unworthy, that this is just how I feel. It's just um yeah. And yeah, so what we need to do to turn around this self-blame, and I'm sure I've spoken of it before, but is to turn that self-blame into anger and direct it, instead of directing that anger toward ourselves, is to direct the anger out to our parents or to someone who you have seen, triggering you, or someone close to you. It can even work. And expressing that anger like out loud, like F you. And I do want to say that, I know that narcissists, they had their own bad child, their own, you know, fucked up parents, and I know it's generational and on and on and all that. But really, for me, healing is only dealing with my segment of the equation, so to speak. I don't think about what my mother went through, or because that just turns into pity. As long as I am not healed, then anything that I think is maybe self-compassion towards the narcissist is actually just pity. I'm just feeling sorry for them, right? Instead of looking at, wait a minute, what about me? What about what happened to me? So that's what needs for me to be looked at first. So later on, maybe someday I will feel compassion for my parents, because I do believe that everyone is worthy of compassion. I do believe that there are no bad people on this planet, just hurting people, traumatized people. But for now, I need to express that anger. Like any victim of any crime or any, if you're a victim of rape or a car crash or any kind of situation, it's important to express the anger that we feel around it. And for me, I was just imagining, some of the, again, as a nanny, what I hear like firsthand from parents speaking to their children. And so I imagined myself as if I was talking to these parents, and I'm saying, you disgust me, your behavior is disgusting right now, because, for example, a parent that's saying, what is this bad behavior? And I want to turn around to that mother and say, what the fuck is your bad behavior right now? You're accusing, you're blaming, and you're looking angry and contemptuous towards your child, and they're suffering. They need you. That's what I want to say to these parents. Or a parent that their child is crying and he's saying, what's wrong with you? I'm going to say, what the fuck is wrong with you? Your child is crying and in pain and needs your compassion, needs your hug. I guess I laugh a little bit, but I'm like, this is not humorous. Like, this is like what I've seen, and maybe the laugh covers up a little bit of the seriousness of it. And I've seen some really like just appalling things. And for me too, I stood there and did nothing, which is also not great, admittedly, because I was in my own flashback going, this is not really happening, is it? These parents are really talking to their children like this. So like really like fuck you, like just scream, and like get angry at your parents, and get angry like that they abandoned you, they left you crying, they left you in your suffering and your pain. They did nothing to help you relieve that pain, to or even just reduce that pain. They did nothing. And that's what dysfunction is all about, is this unresolved pain that parents have. And also they don't try to help children resolve their pain. They just they don't do anything or they blame and shame the child for their emotional pain and suffering. Saw the other woman saying, the child is crying and she's saying, you're being annoying today. Or another mother that said, you're a troublemaker. The child is suffering and needs their parents' help. It's absolutely appalling. And I know these parents are in their own flashback. But as I said, like just dealing with my own segment of this generational trauma and not thinking of what happened to my mother. I'll do that later, and I've touched on it. Anyway, I'm just going on and on, but get angry. Allow yourself to like, because that clears it. Because then suddenly today, whoa, I'm like, my power came back. I'm like, I'm gonna have something to eat. I'm hungry. One of the things I do is I just slightly, like skimp a little bit when I don't want to feel my feelings, or when maybe it's tempting to stay in that kind of shame. I don't know, but why that is exactly. But and also I thought, my mother didn't like fat people. She like looked at fat people like they were disgusting human beings. And I'm like, I don't care what I weigh. I'm gonna freaking eat some eggs, damn it. I don't care what you think, mother. Fuck you, you know? And then my power started, I started to feel my power, and like that this was not my fault. I'm not despicable. I'm not disgusting. I'm not pathetic. I'm not unworthy of love. I just had, unaware, traumatized, messed up parents who were incapable of this kind of real love, real care, real empathy. And yeah. So it's important to as the victim of this abuse, to get allow that anger. So important, and I've probably repeated it a few times, but I think it cannot be um um what's the word, I don't know. Cannot be said enough anyway. So yeah, recognizing you're in the flashback, feel those kind of underlying feelings, and then you can start to maybe realize that that there's that the shame and the self-blame, like umbrellaing everything, like and then the anger breaks through that kind of, I think for me anyway, that's kind of how I imagine it, is that anger sort of kind of breaks through that umbrella of this is me, I'm unworthy, and or it's my fault. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful or insightful in some way to you today. And I'm wishing you so many blessings on this journey of healing and awakening. And really, that's all there is on this planet. And it's there can be a lot of shame just around the healing. And you know, I just want to let you know that what you're doing is remarkable and exceptional and rare and so very, very important. And just you awakening on this planet just is a miraculous thing that has those ripple effects that brings healing to the whole world, changes the energy of the whole world, just you. So thank you for listening today, and I am Davina Shamaya, and you can find me at Boldness Blooming.